Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight and everyone watching at home. Let's start off the meeting with the flag salute. Please join me. Okay, this meeting is being televised and recorded for the transcription of the minutes. At this time, speakers wishing to address the board this evening should turn in the completed speaker card to the board secretary. Trustee Barbaro, any action taken in closed session? No action taken in closed session. Great, thank you. I need a approval for the agenda for tonight. Any second? All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. Okay. Speakers wishing to address the board on items on the agenda may complete the speaker's card and submit them to the board secretary. Speakers addressing specific item on the agenda will have the opportunity to address the board at the time of the agenda item in the meeting. If you're addressing the board on a non-agenda item, please be aware of the provisions of the Brown Act prohibits the board from acting or discussing such matters at this meeting. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic and 20 minutes per agenda item. MEF? MEA?
MEA appreciates that you are approving our this evening with a 6% raise. With this increase, we are no longer the lowest paid teachers within this county of San Mateo, so we greatly appreciate that. Also, while we're sorry to see Superintendent Hickey leave Millbrae, we appreciate all the hard work that she's done, within our district to support the teachers, staff, students, and community. You will be missed. And I know it's not till June, you'll be here. And as the board begins their search for a new superintendent, MEA would like to endorse Catherine Wasleff for this position. Many have worked with her as a principal and director of student services within the 5 years that she's been in Millbrae. We look forward to further conversations with the board on hiring a new superintendent. Thank you and happy holidays.
Okay, thank you. CSEA, members of the community. I see no comments. Okay, the fun part. Trustee comments and communications. Any? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank the community for the opportunity of attending the CSBA conference. In the first week of December, I was able to attend a lot of different sessions that will help me with my leadership roles and my role here as a trustee. Since I've only been in this role for a couple of years, it's really good to get more perspective on what my expectations are. So I really appreciate all of that time that I was able to go up to Sacramento and see the other school boards and get more information. Also, I wanted to just give a shout out for Taylor. I had the chance to go and catch their pom-pom zombies on Saturday, and it was just a really awesome performance. The kids were stellar. They're singing, they're dancing, their comic delivery of the jokes in the play, they were just really, really awesome. And it was very apparent that they took a lot of time and energy to create a great show. So congratulations to this Taylor team and everybody who worked on that performance. And then lastly, I just wanted to give a shout out to Maggie and thank her for everything that she's done in her year as being our president. I'm new to being a board member, and I just learned to really work towards your aspirations. You always keep your core values in the front line when you're making decisions, and that's always apparent with every discussion that we have. So thank you. I really appreciate it working with you.
All right. Welcome here, everybody, this evening. I'm going to save my comments for you, Maggie, when we do our rotation, but all good. No, all good, all good. I'm just going to save them. Like Claire, I also did attend the CSBA conference, hopefully to learn a little bit more as my new role, stepping up this year. And I wanted to really thank the staff and all of the parents and the students for finishing the year strong. I know there's been tons of great holiday activities. There's been lots of performances, and it's all been wonderful getting into the spirit. And I wanted to wish everybody a totally restful, happy holidays, safe break, and everybody hopefully will get some time to enjoy spending some time relaxing with their families. So that's about it.
So I'm going to save my comments for a little bit later for outgoing President Musa, but just wanted to wish everybody at home and everywhere a very happy, joyous, peaceful, restful, well-deserved winter break. So have a good one, everyone.
Okay. Yeah, I'll hold my comments for President Musa for a couple of minutes. But I wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday, especially our staff who work so hard all year long. And this is a good break for you to take some time off with family and friends and enjoy the holiday season. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with my colleagues. Well, there was a lot of events that was going on at school sites and stuff, and unfortunately, I couldn't make it to a lot of it because of personal family things, but I do want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays. Really take the time and enjoy the family and friends, because really, in the big picture of things, that we are very lucky to have what we have. So we're very fortunate in Millbrae to be very thankful for everything that we have compared to what's going on in the world today. So anyway, so thank you. We'll see you, I guess after tonight, we'll see you in 2026, right? After this week's school's over. Anyway, next superintendent update.
All right. It is hard to believe it is the last week before break. I know that the schools are very busy with activities, and it's Tuesday, so just 3 more days. There is a minimum day on Friday, so just a reminder for the minimum day. Wanted to highlight a few events. MEF has actually been working very hard. I don't know that they realized this until December 6th, that they planned 2 large events within a short time frame. But the turkey trot was actually on Thanksgiving, the Taylor Field, and it was a lot of fun. There was probably about 150 people there. It is the Taylor Mile Run, so 3 times around. For some people, it was too short, but for others, it was, just enough. So they talked a little bit about it last night at the board meeting of perhaps making it longer. There is a discussion, someday in the future of making a 5K, but that was going to require a little bit more planning if we want to shut down streets. Their vision is to have us have a 5K that goes through all 5 schools. Definitely a little challenging with Lomita Park because they will never shut down El Camino, right? So that's always challenging. And then I said it's a little challenging for Meadows and Green Hills on the hill. So they suggested that you start at Meadows and have a downhill run. Anyway, we'll see what happens in the future. But then the STEAM Fair happened on Saturday, December 6th. I know in the past, MEF has done a holiday boutique, and that was cute and nice, but it really is more probably for the adults than the students. And so this was really more student centered. MEF is really trying to align their events with the programs that they fund. So if you think about the turkey trot, they fund La Garza PE, so we have something active. The STEAM Fair, they fund Cam Ed. That was at Spring Valley. We had quite a few vendors there. Cam Ed was there. We had the Mills Robotics team there, as well as I think up on, you look at the long table, that's Imagine Learning, and they were creating a kind of light up snow globe. It's kind of hard to see, but there was a little acrylic dome, and then they had little circuits for lights. Right, the next slide. And then, yes, it has been really busy. Last week on Wednesday, we had the Taylor Winter Concert. It was held at Mills, which was just a really nice event because their venue is very professional looking. Plus, we had Mills students, or our former students, there helping because, as you know, there's various groups. So we have 6th grade band and then 7th and 8th grade band, and then the 2 orchestras. So they each played about 3 different selections. At the end, the 7th and 8th grade orchestra came on to play A Million Dreams. I did have a video of it, but it is challenging to show a video at Chambers. So maybe I'll upload it and share it with you. And then the Pom Pom Zombies was a really fun show. That was Friday and Saturday. And you can tell definitely a little bit of difference in just kind of the backgrounds they have. Taylor, in addition to a regular drama class, has a technical class as well. Right, next slide. And then normally we celebrate our retirements in May, but sometimes we have some mid-year retirements, and that is the case for Jose Avila, who has been one of our maintenance employees for 26 years, and he is retiring at the end of the calendar year. We had a little holiday get together for the district office, and we asked him what he was looking forward to. He said doing nothing and resting, although we find that sometimes people fail at retirement and they don't do that well. So we'll see what he does. But he also talked about one of his most famous memories was when he saved a student from choking at Lomita Park. And actually, Rudy sent me a video from about 7 years ago where he was being recognized for doing that. So Rudy did leave a little quote. He says, after 26 years of dedicated service, Jose Avila is retiring from the Millbrae School District, leaving behind a legacy of compassion, leadership, and genuine care for students. From starting as a night custodian at Taylor to serving Green Hills and Lomita Park, supporting food services, and finishing his career in the maintenance department, Jose treated every campus and every child as if they were his own. While he was recognized for saving a student's life during a choking incident, his true impact is reflected in the countless lives he touched through his presence, character, and unwavering dedication. Congratulations to Jose. You will be missed. So, just wanted to make sure that we honor especially someone who spent so many years in our district in various roles. And then, yes, winter break. I think it's already been said that we hope everyone has a restful break. Just a reminder that Monday, January 5th is a work day for teachers, and so school and classes will resume on Tuesday, January 6th. And then before we move on to the next part of reorganization, I just want to make a few comments, and I know that your colleagues will as well. So tonight marks our annual reorganization meeting, a tradition that takes place every December. And since this is not an election year, all 5 trustees will remain on the board for the 2026 calendar year, ensuring continued stability and steadfast leadership to serve our students, families, and staff. So I would like to take a moment to express my thanks to President Maggie Musa for her outstanding leadership as the MESD board president this past year. It's been a pleasure to work alongside her this year, especially during meetings, to map out our agendas and set the course for our discussions. And I know you have mentioned that your previous term as board president occurred during the COVID shutdowns. And I think you much prefer having the meetings in person versus over Zoom. We have a few things. I will say this, and then I'll hand you the things, and then I'll have your fellow trustees say a few words. But on behalf of the entire district, I want to thank Trustee Musa for her exceptional service and dedication. And I know my fellow trustees share this sentiment, would also like to express her appreciation. So I think you get to sit there and just enjoy a couple more minutes of
can
your
I
colleagues. No. So I know Trustee Beltrami already said something, so we'll let.
I'll just, since I guess this was the time I should have spoken and not earlier, so excuse my error in the ways, but I just really wanted to thank you for all of your commitment and dedication and your leadership in this past year. It's been awesome, and I'm looking forward to continue working with you.
Well, Maggie, we've known each other a very long time, and I wanted to thank you for getting me actually involved in the school district in the first place. I remember meeting you actually probably during a T-ball or maybe a soccer event, and my kids were in preschool. And I knew one parent who had already been in the district, Julie Turner, and she said, "You have to meet Maggie." And I said, "Okay." And then you were already recruiting. You were like, "Oh, you're coming into the district, you know, you can join the PTA, and I'm gonna be the president next year." And I was like, "Huh, maybe." And then lo and behold, you know, you got me into the classroom as a room parent, and then joining the PTA, and then following in your footsteps, doing the president at Spring Valley, and then council, and now here. And once again, I'm following you as president of the board. So anyway, I wanted to thank you for getting me involved and for all of the dedication and work that you've done for recruiting countless volunteers, all committed really for helping our staff and our students always, and you always keeping as your North Star the students in mind, and for all of your work and dedication over the, gosh, even before I got there, over a decade and a half. I won't go with like the whatever was said about, yeah, about the number of total years. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you for all of your dedication, your hard work, and for that we are ever grateful. Yeah.
Well, I can't say I've known you for a long, long time because I don't want to date myself.
Oh, come on.
But we've gone a long way. We've gone a long way. And so the thing that comes to mind when I think about you is your compassion, especially for kids. You have a totally strong compassion for kids doing well in school and outside of school. And you've shown it on the school board. And I've learned a lot from you just with kids. Like your interaction with parents is tremendous. You know, you have a really good connection, a connection that I wish I had. You know, you really do. I mean, when you walk into a room, people know you. They want to talk to you. They want to approach you. They want to ask you questions. They want information. You know, they just want to be around you. And you know, in the Lions Club, in the school district, I see that all the time. You know, and people really admire you, and I admire you. And thank you so much for your hard dedication on this board, because it takes a lot, and you put everything in that you have to be successful. So you're very successful here. I want to thank you. Thank you.
Well, it's my turn. Let me put on my microphone here. Well, over this past year and even before that, Maggie, we've shared two really important phrases whenever we've talked to each other. The first one being kids first, and the second one being follow your heart. And you're really a shining example of what it means to truly serve with heart and with purpose. You've shown us that we can count on you to make tough decisions with your calm demeanor. And always during challenging times, you rise above certain situations. As our board president, you didn't just go to board meetings and run board meetings. You've been active in the California School Boards Association. You've attended meetings and conferences. You shared pertinent information from the conferences and from the meetings with all of us so that we would be better informed on issues that came up so that we would serve our students and our district a whole lot better. You have always encouraged the board to think bolder and stronger for our students. The other thing, not just meetings, but you've been consistently visible on all school campuses. You participate in events, you visit classrooms, you stand up for diversity equity, and you speak up for the underrepresented voices that sometimes are not heard. So as you continue to serve on all these multiple committees that you're on, for example, the Facilities Committee, which is huge at this point with our bond, I know you will do an outstanding job and give us the information at the board level that we're going to need. So I just want to thank you for your friendship and for your unwavering commitment to our students, our staff, and the entire Millbrae School District. And your accomplishments will continue to shine on the faces of the smiles of the students that we see on our campuses every day. Thank you for all you do.
Okay, now I'm going to go cry. I really appreciate your words because you really you brought back memories, Karen, from Spring Valley and Taylor and Mills. And so, you know, I can say the same words that you said to me back to you because honestly, the reason we're on this board is for the same reasons. We have the same heart for our kids, and we all want to see our kids in Millbrae succeed and have the best experience that they have. So as much as I appreciate your kind words, but I want to, you know, send those words right back at you because you guys would fit in the same category that you described me. So I really do appreciate it. I know we started a lot of different things that we've been working on the past year or few years, but I'm happy to say that when I make the nomination tonight for our new president, I am very confident that our new president will carry on the torch and keep the board united and the staff and the community member to continue working on behalf of students as a team. Because whether we're on the board or on the staff or superintendent or teachers, we all on the same team that we, you know, strive for the same thing. So again, thank you again for the kind words, and I do. You have our backs, Karen, and we'll be there to support you to continue the amazing work that we have been working on, all of us. So moving forward with the board reorganization, and tonight we'll be nominating a new president, vice president, and clerk. So my thing is not working, it's circling. Anyway. So moving forward, I'm very honored to be nominating Karen Chin, for our president for the next year. I mean, well, yeah, 2026, 2026 school year. Anyway, I need a motion to approve the nomination.
Second?
All in favor, say aye. All say no. All opposed. I should say that, but anyway. Motion carries.
Right, well, congratulations to our new president.
Congratulations.
And I
And,
know
you know,
trustee Chin's
use this wisely.
family are here, so her
So
husband
who is
Jamie,
doing the,
her son Max, and her son Lucas, but her
Who's
son
doing the
Lucas
oath?
gets the honor
Lucas?
of swearing
Okay.
them
Her
in.
son
So I'd
Lucas
like
will be
to
doing the
ask
oath.
both to come to the podium, please.
Yes.
Because he's a senior, maybe. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Karen Chin, I will support and defend the Constitution of the State of California. All enemies, foreign and I will bear true faith and allegiance. That I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation. That I will well and faithfully discharge duties upon which I am about to. Congratulations.
Don't forget to switch nameplates too.
All right, so now I'm doing the nomination for Vice President for the Board of Trustees, which I would like to nominate Frank Barbaro. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve?
A second?
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
So motion passes.
So Trustee Barbaro's daughter, Mariah, is here tonight and will be swearing him in.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Frank Barbaro, do solemnly swear
I, Frank Barbaro, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution
that I take this obligation freely
take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
duties on which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Frank. Next up, we have the nomination and election of the clerk for the Board of Trustees, and I would like to nominate Claire Beltrami. Can I get a motion?
Okay, hold on.
Oh.
Sorry, apparently there was a motion and a second, but did we completely vote? So can you go back and make sure?
Oh, I thought we voted.
We did vote.
We voted. It was 5-0.
You didn't say, oh.
Got it.
Anybody opposed?
Oh, do I need to ask, is anybody opposed to Frank's nomination?
You missed it?
Sorry, I'm new at this, so any good feedback is good. Okay, so next would be our nomination for Claire Beltrami as the clerk, and if I could get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Okay, well, it looks like we've got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Motion passes.
Thank you. Good for me.
So I'm just wondering, do we need to switch a couple more seats or where are we at? Okay,
Yeah, I think we can stay here.
okay, perfect.
I get to move up. I get to move up. I don't have to be on the end. I've been on the end for 2 years. We'll have it figured out by the next meeting.
All
When
right.
you come to the next meeting, we will have your nameplates appropriately placed.
Congratulations to everybody. Next up will be the committee appointments for next year. And Lisa, do you want me to?
Yeah, the committee appointments are already listed, so we are just recommending that you approve them as presented.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Can I get a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, we have presentations. And we have a presentation for our first interim report by Mary Pollett, our CBO.
Thank you, President Chen, before I begin, I wanted to congratulate you on your new role, and I would be sharing the first interim for 25-26 school year, but before that, I would like to bring your attention to an error that actually President Chen found on slide 13 on the interim report under Fund 25, the ending and beginning fund balance. I accidentally entered that under Fund 20. But in any case, the loose sheet is the replacement of the slide 13 for record. Good evening, President Chin, Board of Trustee, Superintendent Hickey's cabinet. I guess everybody else is had left, but hopefully I know staff are watching via Zoom. I would like to say good evening to the community of Millbrae. My name is Mary Pollett. I am going to present to the board tonight the first interim report for the fiscal year 25-26. All right, so an overview. We're gonna go over the first interim certification, the budget cycle, and then the general fund assumption. I will go into the details of revenue and expenditures, along with the summary at the end of that report, and then a comparison of the adopted budget that we presented to you in June versus the one today. At the same time, I will share the multi-year projections, what we will be looking at 25-26, and then plus 2 outer years. In addition, I will share the summary of other funds that I just point that out, and then we'll go to the next steps. So as we obligated any school district, we always wanted to have a positive certification. That means we need to meet the financial obligation for not only the current year, but plus the 2 outer years. So I will share the details information to you, but the highlighted is the one that we are try to meet, and we are meeting that obligation. The other two I did show there for, there are other options, but we are going to have a positive certification. Hopefully we'll get you approved, and then we'll send that to the county at soon at tomorrow morning. So the budget cycle, as you probably know about this, adopted budget we presented to you in June. Today we presented to you the first interim, and hopefully by February, the audit report will be completed for the last year. As of right now, they still waiting for some documentation to complete. So finger crossed that it will get done, and we'll bring it to you in February. And then after that, I will go back here for the second interim in March. And then the unaudited actual happen again in September, and that's complete the full year of budget cycle. So here are the first interim budget assumption. For the current year, 25-26, since we were basic aids last year, so we automatically making the assumption that we will have the basic aid this year. However, we don't know for sure until January, February, when the tax really coming in, as all the homeowners, they start making first payments right now, but we don't know for sure until February, January of 2026. For 26, 27, and 27, 28, those two presented 3.02 and 3.42 accordingly are the LCFF COLA assumption. And for the enrollment, we are making the assumption that the number enrollment will stay steady as well at the ADA. STIR percentage had been very steady in the past years. However, for PERS, it's actually a slight good news. These percentage has gone down from previous years, slightly, very, very minor percentage coming down, but they came down compared to the number that I shared with you earlier. Here are the details of general funds. For the LCFF resources, we have projected to be about 27.6 million, and federal revenue is 860,000, and the state revenue is at about 3.3 million, and then nearly 3 million for local revenue. Transfer in, we, during the budget time, we transfer in 275,000 from Fund 20, but we had set aside some large amount of money, slightly over $1 million, for textbook adoption. And so I will share further information on the next slide in the pie chart. Hopefully it will make more sense. In total, we have slightly over $36 million projected revenue. So that same number, I personally, like it's in the pie chart, so you can sort of see it better in the whole budget. So you can see the LCFF or the tax revenue made up 77%, and the federal made up about 2%, state revenue about 9%, and the local revenue make up 8%. The transfer in, even though it counts at the revenue, but in theory is not really brand new revenue, right? Because this fund was set aside in Fund 20, and we just and Fund 17 that we transfer over to. We set it aside for a certain purpose. For the Fund 19, we put it aside. Fund 17 we set aside for textbook adoption, and Fund 20 we set aside to pay for post-employment benefits. And here are the expenditures. This expenditures account for the 6% raise that we will later ask for your approval. So you can see the certificate salary. Actually, I am going to advance to the next slide because it has the number and the percentage. So actually, it's easier for you to kind of picture at the whole pie. So you can see here, the certificated salary make up 40%, which is $15.5 million of our total budget. And for classified salary, make up 14% or $5.3 million. And for employee benefits of both classified and certificated combined, it's slightly over 8.7 million. As you can see, they add up to almost 80%. And book and supplies, as you see, is made up 5% due to the fact that we have textbook adoption, the money that we set aside on Fund 17 that I mentioned a minute ago, that we transfer from Fund 17 back into general funds to cover for that. And then other services and operation make up 17%. I wanted to point out in this orange pie chart, in this 6.6 million, about 1.5 million is the contracted para-educators. As you can see, our student enrollment has gone up, and so as special education. Dr. Passmore and I have had a short meeting today, and we talked about how to better support our special education students. And as probably HR, I regularly check in, and it is challenging to be able to direct hire our staff, and because of that, we still obligate to provide services to our special education students, and because of that, we do have to reach out to outside agency to contract our service, and therefore the orange pie chart is quite large. So that 17% is beyond the operation, but it's include about 1.48 to be precise, $1 million on contracted services because we can't direct hire special education, a para-educator to support special education students. And then for capital outlay, we have about 1%, and other outgo expenditure that services from the county made up 0.3%. So here, those 4 slides combined into one slide here for you to see the revenue is about slightly over 36 million, but the expenditure is 38.5 million, which bring our deficit spending to 2.5 million. So at the end of the 24-25 school year, when I brought the report, unaudited actual to you in September, the ending fund balance there, which is the beginning fund balance here, is 13 million, and with the 2.5 million deficit spending, we project to have about $10.5 million in ending fund balance. In that amount, we have about 1.6 million in restricted funds. So within that ending fund balance, we set aside the 3% reserve for economic uncertainty. That's mandated by law. You, as a board, also had a board policy 3100 that we set aside 17% or certain, or about 2 months worth of payroll to make sure that if something were to happen, we can afford to pay our staff. And so certain assigned reserve are designated, including the deficit spending designation. And this slide, we are showing the adopted budget that we presented to you in June versus today number. And as you can see with the LCFF resources at the time in June, we did not have the information that the AV growth was 8.01, and therefore we were projected to be the LCFF, which is the 2.3%. And therefore there was an increase about 1.8 million there. And then federal revenue, we do have a little bit more funding coming in for Title I, Title III, and a little bit more on the federal special education grant. However, for the state and local at the time, we projected to be a little bit less. For the state, we projected the ELOF funds to decrease, and it has been decreasing. And for the local revenue, we have, as you probably projected, we have less reserve, smaller ending fund balance, and therefore the interest will be less, right? We are tapping into also to the Fund 40, and therefore, therefore that amount is also smaller, and that's also impact the interest. And as I mentioned earlier on the transfers during the budget time, we transferred $275,000 from Fund 20 that we set aside to pay for post-employment benefits. This time we move slightly over $1 million, $1,008,000 or so from Fund 17 to cover for textbook adoption. And so that bring our variance to $2.5 million over compared to the adopted budget. And for expenditures, as I mentioned earlier, again, my presentation is sort of like advancing, but pending your approval, and for the tentative agreement of 6% increase for the staff, with an exception of superintendent and myself. With that factor in, because of that, certificated classified salaries has gone up accordingly. And because they're gone up on the base salary, and therefore it definitely impact the benefits overall. And as I stated earlier, on the book and the supplies, it's gone up $800,000 there because we transfer funds from Fund 17 to that we set aside for textbook adoption. And again, this is still a projection. First interim, as I mentioned earlier, this is only account for up to October 31st, 2025. And the second interim I will bring to you in March, that will cover until the end of January of 2026. And again, as I mentioned earlier, other services in operation is gone up $620,000. Last year at the unaudited actual for 24-25, I remember presented to you is under $900,000 on a special education contractors. But as of right now, with special education support for para to support special education students, we have LVN, also a couple that in there, and I believe they're a speech pathologist also contracted, and therefore the contracted services have gone up almost double, right, from slightly under $900,000 to $1.48 million. So that's included in the other services in operation. And capital outlay, these are the items that due to increased TK classrooms. And then the outgo, these services are very standard, that's county services. And so that bring the comparison slide to the end here. And the multi-year projection, again, as I mentioned earlier, because we only have 1 year tentative agreement with pending board approval, 6% raise. If that happen and that factor in, we will be a $2.5 million deficit spending. And again, it's still a projection. With that, we still have 27.2% in reserve. And projectedly for 26-27, we will have 22.3%. and for 27-28, we will have 17.2% in ending fund balance. And this is the updated slide on the other funds. As you can see, we have Fund 8, Student Activities, Special Reserve Fund. It seems that they spent the funds within their means, they generate the revenues, and they seem to keep the ending fund balance pretty steady. Since I arrived, that number actually has not changed. Fund 13, Director Gagos has been doing a very good job of being able to self-sufficient, stay within the Fund 13. She and I, we have weekly meetings, and she continued to try to spend. She has a one-time grant that she is trying to spend those dollars. So this ending fund balance probably will shrink soon because there is a deadline that she needs to catch on. And earlier I mentioned Fund 17, and here it is. Fund 17 is where we set aside for future expenditure that we know we will spend. So from there, we move slightly over $1 million from Fund 17 back into general funds that I mentioned earlier. So now it's down to about $12,000 left in the Fund 17. And then Fund 19, this is the foundation, not MEF foundation, that years ago, more than decades ago, if I remember it, actually I shouldn't say that I remember because I barely came here, but I looked into the record, and Helen Rogers donated $50,000, and some way, somehow, at the time of the donation, the board accept the resolution to only spend the interest that generated from that $50,000, and therefore the ending fund balance guaranteed that had to be at least $50,000. This fund is for principal to tap in to support students' needs, whatever the activity, for example, outdoor ed and those services. If some family had the need to support their student to attend, then the principal will be able to tap into this fund. And again, I mentioned earlier about Fund 20, from the budget time, we transferred $275,000 back into general fund to cover for post-employment benefits. And Fund 25, we brought the report to you last board meeting to approve that part of the state mandate. And so as of right now, we have the ending fund balance of slightly above 1.1 million. And here is Fund 40. So the ending fund balance for Fund 40 right now is about $12.4 million. So I also bring to you some ongoing grants and also one-time grant. So for ongoing grants, we have two grants right now. We have ELOB and we have ACES that we serving all 5 schools. For ELOB, it's to serve student K to 6th grade. For ACES, we primary serving students as Lomina Park. Prop 28 is actually not a grant. That's why I put a little bar over. I don't want to create another slide, but it actually is not a grant. It's actually a voter approval in 2022 to increase funding for arts and music. And there are rules. Actually, let me advance here. So I will get back to that in a second. I get a little bit ahead of myself there. So for ELOP and ACES, as I mentioned earlier, funding has gone down. As you can see, the allocation. Here are some of the expenditure. We have tapped into ELOP fund to support summer school, Camp EDU. Currently, the biggest expenditure under ELOP is the contract with Happy Hall. And we have some after-school support, clerical and staffing, in addition to some Chromebook that we purchased last year. For ELOP, we have 3 years to spend the funding for the revenue come in. For ACES, we have to spend whatever the revenue coming in for that year, we have to spend by the end of the year. As I mentioned a minute ago on Prop 28, it is the California voters supported Prop 28 to provide additional funding to increase access or supplemental to art and music in school. And again, the restriction, it is a supplemental programs. That's mean the school district, it goes by school district. It doesn't go by individual school. As a whole district, 80% of the fund had to go to staff and 20% go to the material, and we have to keep it in that ratio. In addition, it is a supplemental. That's mean the non-Prop 28 funding had to be more than Prop 28. If you spend $10 on Prop 28, you have to spend at least $11 on other funds. Because you're not allowed to use Prop 28 to supplant the existing programs. So that the restriction for this year, we apply the waiver and we have not heard back. Last year we applied and we did get the approval to waive the 80% staffing and 20% material. But we're not sure if we are going to get the waiver this year. So we're waiting for the response. And here are some of the one-time grant funding. We have a small mandated block grant of $79,000. This grant is to cover some of the costs that we need to, that the state mandated. In the past, business department had to file all of the reimbursement, right? But someone was graciously passed this grant, and so like they will allocate $39.09 per ADA to cover the cost. They know that certain mandated programs had to happen, and therefore they allocated this fund, so we don't have to do a lot of filing. The next grant we call PD discretionary grant is allocated slightly under $315 per ADA, and this grant is to support student well-being. This is a new grant. It just, the fund is just 75% of it just came through in late September. This grant can be used, PD for teachers to improve on English language arts and mathematics, or to develop, expand teacher recruitment and retention, as well as addressing rising costs. Like I said, it barely came in late September, and so we will work with Director of Ed Services and to see how we can better serve our students and staff here in Millbrae. Last but not least, we are, this is the last year we will use up the art and music instructional material block grant that came to the district in 22-23 school year. The remainder of 529,000 is allocated for the, to be used up by the end of the 25-26 school year. I provided more details on the slides there, so you can see that these are the expenditure that we have used last year and a certain allocation that we currently put in place for the 25-26 school year. And so, again, business department job is to make sure that our budget is accounted for and we maintain a structural balanced budget. We always need to put our student center in mind, and it's our job to build adequate reserve, and we make sure that we have enough cash flow so that we can pay our bills. And again, last but not least, we want to make sure that if Ange is here, she probably liked the last bullet, that risk mitigations, right? Like we do what to make sure that the no risk it brings to the district. So for next step, and as I stated from the beginning, we are waiting for the auditor to send us the draft report. Hopefully the report will be ready and bring it to you in February. And for the second interim report, the cutting date is January 31st. That I will bring to you in March of 2026. And that concludes my presentation, and I am going to pause, and if you have any questions, thank you.
Thank you, Mary, for that presentation. It was very clear and thorough. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Sure. Can we go back to slide 12? Okay. So can you just explain to me, in terms of the 6%, 12,
This one?
the multi-projection,
This one?
the multi-year projection, restricted, unrestricted, combined with the 6%, I know with the deficit spending, so 2.5 deficit spending, that's with the 6%. We haven't negotiated for 26, 27, and correct. So when we go into negotiations, that's going to alter the numbers. But I guess my question is, reserve for deficit spending and other. So in 25-26, we're at 2.8 million, and then 26-27, where there's nothing there. Can you clarify that for me?
Yes. So as you can see, we have to put away the reserve for 3% economic uncertainties, 3%, that's mandated by law, right?
Yeah.
That's the state mandate. And then is the governing board policy 3100 that you asked us to put away 17%. So we put those away first.
Okay.
And then so if there's nothing fall to the bottom, that's all we have, right?
Okay.
So, and again, it is a projection for 25-26. Even 25-26, this first interim is only account for up to October 31st. That means it's only the first 3 months of this school year, right? So it is a projection. So, and because again, if the ending fund balance we have is 8.4 million, we have to account for the mandated one. And deficit spending, I know it's there based on the projection, but there's no mandate. So, and there's nothing for me to put there. I don't want to put like $5 there.
No, I get it. No, I guess my point is, you know, a lot of us look at the reserves and we think, oh my gosh, we have so much money. But I just want to clarify, like 26, 27, the numbers don't include possible negotiations. So, and we're supposed to have by law 2 months of reserves to pay 2 months salaries in case something happens at the state level. We go
That
into.
dual policy, yes.
Yes, exactly. So we're good this year, but in 26, 27, we're okay. But in the third year out, we're like pretty much like very minimal. We're like
Right.
border, like at the point with the percents going up, that number might not look so good when we get to that point because we're not gonna be able to cover 2 months' salaries. That's just,
Yeah, I would say that it's just hard to project as well, because whether or not we stay basic aid or not, it's hard to project what that might be. So that's also based on COLA, right? So 3 years out, I think, is a little challenging. I think, or a little bit of when we were in negotiations this year, and we looked at the history of our negotiations of 3 years out, we weren't that accurate most of the time 3 years out. So you're right. It's hard to know exactly what the future will be, and so I think a lot of things could change. I mean, it could, if we stay basic aid, it could be a little bit more than the COLA projection. Our enrollment can fluctuate a little bit, and then we do have a history, and we probably will deficit spend this year, but we do have a history of having many years where we have projected to deficit spend, and we didn't too. So I would just point out those as well.
Thank you, Superintendent Hickey.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I just had a question. I noticed that what Superintendent Hickey said is that we've typically had a large deficit spending forecasted, and then we typically end the year with not as much of a deficit as we may have originally forecasted. I know that we have been looking at potentially changing some of our forecasting so that it's a little bit more, I would say, more accurate during the school year. Where are we in that? Like, I think about all of the things that you know now, which you may have it all completely reflected in first interim already. Where do we think that 2.5 million will be at the end of the year based on what you know? Do you think that, what are the factors that could impact it, either positively or negatively? Like, could we have potentially more revenue, which is what we've had in the past couple of years? Are we padding some of our expenses, which we may have done because we've hired more paras and consultants and not necessarily reduced the open salaries? What are the things that could influence that deficit number for this year?
Thank you for the very complex question there, but you hit all the points that contribute to the multi-year projection, right? That we relies on the information that we have up to October 31st, 2025. So at that point, at that mark, we know that the AV growth is at 8.01 that we didn't know in June. So we factor that in. And we factor in to all the salary and benefit, including the potential position that's currently vacant. We subtracted out the month that had passed, but we still have to budget in all of those positions that's still vacant. But potentially it happens in the past that we didn't end up hiring or even contract, so those positions will get fall to the, to the reserve at the end. And as Superintendent Hickey pointed out, the community funded came through last year. Second interim in March, I stood in front of you and I said, we have $1.1 million deficit spending. We've been recorded here, and probably I was saying that back then. But in September, I returned to you in 24-25 school year. And at the time, obviously the book is closed. The school year ended in June 30th of 2025. Everything accounted for. I came to you and we were under $100,000, actually over $100,000, not over. Like, we actually have little surplus. And so sometimes we can't project everything, right? We can only project, like I said, we can account for expenditure, the authorized position that currently on the book. right? For example, Jose just retired. We're not going to be able to hire right away. There's policy, we need to post, we need to do all of those. So we probably, if we're lucky, we'll be able to hire a substitute. Then it still costs less, no benefit. But if we not lucky, other people will cover, but it won't be a full cost. So in a way, it's this little bit saving here and there. Again, we can't foresee that, right? And so we always budget as if the position have someone there. But in any circumstance, in any school district, there are always vacant position that we won't be able to fill, and then it end up with less expenditure than we expected. And if we're lucky, we get more revenue, we're not gonna complain, right?
Understood. No, I think that's great. Thank you for that explanation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next up is the consent agenda. If I can get a motion to approve the consent agenda. Excellent. Okay, so we have Lynn and then Maggie. Is there any discussion? All right, well then, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next up is 12.1 District Business, Approval of Public Disclosure of the Collective Bargaining Agreement, AB 1200, and I will pass that to Lisa.
All right. So this is the item that all of our unions have been waiting for this evening, but we have gone through negotiations with MEA and CSEA. And so what we have for you tonight are all of the tentative agreements, including the compensation increase, and that is the part of the AB 1200 that CBA Pollett prepared to send to the county, which you will see there. And that AB 1200 encompasses all of our bargaining units together. So this evening, we are asking you to approve the public disclosure of collective bargaining as presented for certificated MEA, classified CSEA, unrepresented, confidential, certificated, and classified management. And if you look above at the quick summary of abstract, it does list all of the unrepresented. And again, it's everyone except for myself and CBO Pollett who are contracted employees.
Okay, great, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve? Can I get a second?
A second.
Okay, is there any discussion or any questions? Okay, excellent. I mean, I just wanted to say thank you to all of our staff and our teachers because we couldn't do what we do every day without them. They are absolutely what impacts all of our students on a daily basis, and it's an honor to approve these contracts. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next up is 12.2, approval of the 25-26 first interim report. So this is Mary again.
Thank you, President Chin. As I just presented to you, the first interim is one of the two mandated report that we submitted to county after your approval. This report budget it through October 31st that I mentioned, and the second interim report I will bring to you in March will come through January 31st. And we are asking the Board of Trustees to approve the 25-26 first interim report as presented. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Can I get a motion? Okay, anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Okay, excellent. Any discussion or questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up is 12.3, approval of the 26-27 school calendar, and I will pass that to Lisa.
Yes, so we are, we worked with MEA and CSEA to prepare the school year calendar for 26-27. In the past, we've done this in a two-step process where we have asked you to approve the first and last day of school, and then we go back and we do the details and we bring it back to you again. We thought it might be more efficient to just do it all and present to you the entire calendar. I know it's December, but people are already anxious and asking for next year's calendar. So I would say it pretty much mimics this year's. And I know that it was a change for our families that they had school on Thanksgiving, Monday and Tuesday of that week. That is the plan for the next school year. It does follow the high schools also having a Monday and Tuesday school day. And so we are just asking that you approve this, and we have had discussions about looking at the 27 and 28 calendar, possibly in the spring. I know we do it kind of 1 year at a time, but there are definitely districts, especially since we mimic the high school district, who already, kind of have a tentative 27, 28. But for tonight and this evening, we're just asking you to approve the 26, 27 school calendar.
Excellent. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, a second. Excellent. Any questions or thoughts? Okay, great. I'm glad we're doing little baby steps. Lisa, just already getting to a whole year and cutting out one step. So anyway, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next up is 12.4, approval of resolution 252609, annual accounting of developer fees. And this is to Mary.
Thank you, President Chin. Again, this is the developer fees. In the attachment, you can see the report that it was put together, and we published to the, we post on a website for public to be viewed 15 days prior to today's board approval. And it's mandated that this report to be reported to the board annually. In addition, we have to also include the 5 years expenditure. So the law requires us to make sure that any revenue that we receive each year, we have to spend within 5 years. And this report showing that we're meeting those requirements, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve resolution number 25-26-09 as presented. Thank you.
Okay, great. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
And a second?
That's it.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes. 25 is 300, we projected 350,000. Yep.
Can you, the percentage, there's a type of fees collected, and there's a number here, but level 1 is the lowest level you can get, right? But remind me again, the $3.10 a square footage in terms of new residential, is that 100% or is that our 60%? Remind me.
That's our portion.
That's our portion. That's the 60%.
Yeah.
And so commercial, it's even less? I thought it was this. So commercial, industrial, we only get 50 cents? Is that true?
I believe so. That's a rate.
Oh,
That's
wow.
our
I
rate.
thought it was a lot higher. Okay. So residential, so in terms of the, because you were talking about budget, so in terms of all the new developments, I'm sure we got paid the life science and the, obviously, we already got the developers fees, right?
That's last year, 24, 25.
Yeah,
That's why we have that huge fee collected last year for 855,000. But that's based on my report of 5 years, that's sort of an outlier because we have that big project.
Projects,
going.
yeah,
Yes, that's
yeah.
why we only projected to be 350 for this year, 25, 26, that I respond to Trustee Barbaro earlier. But 855,000 is sort of out of the norm.
Yeah, but we don't have any, there's no projection of, we don't know any future projects, that, like the El Rancho, Is that coming up soon, or we don't know yet? That's
Um,
another
I
big
think
thing.
that one
don't
is
know.
unknown. at
It's
this
unknown
point,
right now?
yes.
Okay, so we don't know any substantial. Okay, okay, thank you.
Anyone else? When do we actually collect these developer fees? When they actually put a shovel in the ground, when they apply for the permit, or when it's finished and they cut the ribbon?
So their new law, did I say here? So currently, current practice is before they even initiate the project, they have to get the permit with the county, or with the CD, sorry, with the CD. So before they go to the CD, they go to the district to pay this developer fees. And then they get the receipt, and then they go to the county and get the approval so that they can start doing the construction. But there were law came out recently that many of us CBOs were scrambling, trying to understand how this impacts the school district. So there certain exemption to certain group that they don't have to pay before they initiate the project, but they will need to pay before occupancy. So we mean CBO's group, trying to see who fit into those exemption and how that might impact the school district.
Okay, so what did we learn? Like for El Rancho?
Whenever it become available, I'll bring
Okay,
it to you, but
so for the new building that is taking over Office Depot, did they pay for that one?
that's already done because it's 24, 25, so it didn't
Correct.
impact us at all because they already paid.
Okay, so this is very recent.
Yes.
Okay, all right, excellent. Thank you. So we need to vote on this one. I think we already made a motion, correct? So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, next up is 12.5, approval of agreement for the Bay Area Tree Company, eucalyptus tree removal at Green Hills. And I will hand that over to Lisa.
Okay, so we brought this to you, I believe in the May meeting. 2 items, I think. We approved tree maintenance during the summer, but we also had a discussion about the eucalyptus trees in front of Green Hills. I think all of us commented that whenever, especially if it's rainy and you park in front of those eucalyptus trees, you're a little worried. And we are concerned for safety there. At that time in May, Director Correa had received 2 quotes. One of them was $121,000, and then the professional tree, Brightview was $121,000, and the professional tree care company was $74,500. We did not take action on the eucalyptus trees. Since May, our Director of Maintenance and Operations obtained a 3rd quote from Bay Area Tree Company, which was the lowest bid at $58,675. So we are asking this evening for you to approve this contract, and we will do some more communication with the community before we actually do the work. But tonight, we're just asking the board to approve the contract.
Okay, great. Can I get a motion to approve? Can I get a second? And are there any questions?
Yes, agreed. And I will kind of clarify that it's more community communication and not necessarily input. So just kind of putting it out. I think it is important to communicate what we're doing, but not necessarily to have them give input. We do, of course, want to replace it with trees, and the city will help us with that. We do know that anytime you do that, right, especially, I agree, it will change the line of sight pretty drastically because they are very tall, and anytime you start to plant new trees, they seem pretty minuscule in comparison.
Well, it's great to hear that the city would be helping with planting new trees. I know they've been great partners with us on that. The only question I had is that we are removing 21 eucalyptus trees, and I remember the last quotes that we had in May were not exactly 100% apples to apples to each other, and I haven't compared this to those, but I'm assuming it's pretty close to at least what we saw back in May.
It is pretty close. It does encompass kind of all the front trees. There are some additional trees. I think Director Correa really kind of suggests moving forward with this because this is the biggest safety one, kind of seeing how that goes, and then maybe looking at some of the other eucalyptus trees, but it's mostly the front along Ludeman Lane.
Along Ludeman, okay, all right. I know there were a couple also along sort of the
There
rest of
are
the.
some, and I think this quote is really for the ones along Ludeman Lane, and I think Director Correa wants, that, those are the ones he's mostly worried about for safety.
Yeah,
right
no,
now.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Lynn, if you can use a microphone because they can't hear you. Your
Go ahead, Lynn,
microphone.
can you put your microphone on?
When will the work start?
And we would have to schedule that, but we're kind of thinking after the rainy seasons, which would give us a couple months to, you know, communicate with the community.
Anyone else? Okay, all right, so we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up is 12.6, approval of resolution 252610, approving the associate membership agreement joining the Education Technology Joint Powers Authority, EdTech JPA. And that goes to Jeff.
Thank you, President Chin and Board of Trustees. The Millbrae Elementary School District is interested in entering into become a member of the EdTech JPA. So the EdTech JPA is just a joint powers authority. It was founded by education technologists in other school districts in Southern California. The members are only school districts. There are about 217 members currently, serving about 2.8 million students in the state of California. We will be the second member, if approved tonight, in the county of San Mateo. Menlo Park City School District recently entered into the JPA. There's no cost to join, and there's no risk to join. The benefit to us is that they go out for an RFP, and they basically use the economies of scale to their benefit. So on this consortium model, vendors are willing to cut discounts because it's a much larger competitive pool. So by entering into this agreement, we are opting ourselves in to access their pricing if it benefits the district. There's no obligation to use their agreement. If we happen to get an agreement that ends up being cheaper on the side, we can use our own. Just like everything else, any other contract, it would come before you for approval before we ever move forward with it. And of course, would have to be approved and executed by you prior to ever entering into the agreement with the vendor. Looking at the list of vendors they currently have agreements with, and we cannot see pricing until we're a member, but looking at the list of list of vendors, I identified several vendors that we are currently utilizing, including Synergy SAS, Renaissance, which is of course EduClimber and our STAR. So that's a big one for us. There's a potential for savings there. So again, no cost to join, no obligation to use their contracts, but a chance to save money on this consortium model. So recommendation is to approve the membership with EdTech JPA tonight.
Okay, sounds too good to be true.
It does, and I wanted to do this 2 years ago, and I spent the last 2 years making sure it wasn't too good to be true, and it really wasn't. So thank you.
Okay, so this needs a motion. Anybody? Okay, second? All right, questions?
A good question. Is this kind of like a Kupka where there's like the trees, if it goes above 7,000, that you need board approval or anything below? Like, is there, like, do you know if there's pricing, like, you know, limits to, like, there's a certain number that you don't have to come to the board, you just go with the price? Is that the same thing, same scenario?
In this case, no, it's the way they've laid it out, and they work with F3 Law as their partner for the law firm setting it all up. But no, everything comes to you. So there's no like dollar limit. This JPA is similar, more similar to our Omnia Services agreement, our Spur JPA agreement, so it's more like our, it's just, it's essentially just people coming together, going to a vendor saying, we're bigger, so now we have a better buying power. And as a small district, most of the benefit comes in for us because we just don't have the big numbers to get the big discounts. And that's where the members have seen discounts when they've kind of negotiated together in a bigger group.
Can we also renegotiate any of our existing contracts or no?
Yes, we can. A lot of vendors that I talked to, when I mentioned we were considering this and I knew that they had an agreement, they recommended we do it at the renewal term and not mid-contract, but it is possible. If it's a significant discount, I would start the process utilizing our exit clause that exists and trying to renew early or end early and then renew with the new terms.
All right, excellent. So this requires a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next up is a discussion item, and it's item 13.1, superintendent search process, appointment beginning in the 26-27 school year. Before we discuss this item, I would just like to say a few words about Lisa and her departure. So as a board, we are very sorry to see you leave at the end of this year, but we fully understand and respect your decision to do what's best and right for your family. And, you know, we understand your return to work directly with students, but we just wanted to say thank you because you have done an incredible job here in the short 2 years that you were here. And we really were super pleased and continue to be pleased with your work here. As superintendent, you have been truly committed to our schools, our staff, and our students. You have always communicated very clearly to us, clear is kind, and you've always increased the transparency to our district. You've done a great job building community and creating a culture that's been really a big change for our district and one that makes us feel like family. So just anyway, I wanted to say that your leadership has really been very, you know, important to us and have really helped us improve student outcomes. So anyway, you will be missed, but we know that you will not.
Just, you know, I just want you to know that it was a decision that I still, you know, it was very hard for me. I wrestled with it. I will always be grateful to the board for giving me this opportunity. I have learned a tremendous amount in the past 2 years and committed to you for the next 6 months and making sure that we have a smooth transition. And I'm not leaving the area, so I'm still kind of your neighbor and close by. So yes, thanks.
Yes, thank you so much, and I'm glad that we have you here till the end of this year. So I just wanted to open this up for discussion because obviously we will need to plan on running a search process and appointing a new superintendent for next year. So I was hoping, Lisa, you might
I
help us.
would just, maybe this is a discussion process and, you know, our next board meeting is January 20th. I know that last time when you went through the search and ended up hiring me, that you looked at multiple search firms, interviewed those search firms. You ended up going with Leadership Associates. That contract at the time was $22,500. I know that because you did this process about 2 years ago, I'm not sure you need the full process in terms of community input. I think probably the characteristics they wanted in the leader probably hasn't changed much from that. So with that, I think you have a couple of options, right? So one option could be to continue with leadership. I have spoken to them and asked them if there was some negotiation because you wouldn't need the full scope of services that you used last time. So they haven't given me a complete contract yet, but they've given me a ballpark, which is that if you did not do the community input meetings and you just kind of done the process, that it would range around $16,500 for that process. And with the search firm, they are running the entire process. The other option would be for our district to do a posting on our own. So we would post it on EdJoin, we would advertise through EdCal, but then to utilize kind of consulting services for the district that would support our district with doing the process. Because I do think it's important when you do the interview process that it is more of a neutral process and you have someone who facilitates that. If you go that route, I think you're running around $10,000. I think there's some pros and cons. That's kind of introducing it. Happy to kind of, have you discuss, ask some questions, but then again, this is really just for discussion. And I think our plan would be for me to kind of hear your thoughts, get some direction, get more kind of formalized pricing and contracts, and then to bring it back on the 20th of January for our next meeting, and then kind of you to make a decision at that point, and we can move forward.
All right, does anybody have any thoughts as to what Lisa laid out?
Well, I was just going to, say that I do agree with, I don't think we need to go through a total process once again. I think that if we were to go with the previous organization, Leadership Associates, they have a good idea of what we are looking for, and we could use the job description, the postings, everything that we'd done 2 years ago again with them. And I thought that I was very pleased with their ability to give us everything that we asked for in a timely manner and well organized. So I like that idea as opposed to trying to go back to the drawing board and bring in any other kinds of organizations that do superintendent searches. I'd like to have a more detailed idea of what a consultant would look like for the price that, we're looking at 10,000, because we don't have everything. We're going from scratch then if we use the consultant. So we would need to look at what the job description would be, and then getting together the interview questions and that kind of thing. We kind of need to have a more detailed idea of what the consultant can do for us. But I do like those two ideas, and I think it would be good to get a more detailed plan to bring back in January for us to look at.
Yeah, I agree. We don't need to go full-on research because we've done it. And I think what the positive thing that came out of leadership and hiring you, Lisa, is one thing we know is the community and our staff likes consistency, continuity, and local, and someone that knows our district and knows, because we don't, it's hard to keep starting all over again. We've, Debbie left, and then we had interim, and then we had you, and it's like we've had like 3 superintendents with small amount of time. And I think consistency and local, and I think it just, we know that works for us. So, and I think, like Claire was saying, 16,000 still is too much for me. 10,000, like I said, I'd like to know what that consultant, what it would do in terms of application, reading applications, setting up interviews and all the stuff. So the details of the pros and cons of either way, so we can make, better, better decisions.
Yeah, I agree that we need to look at both options because I think a combination might fit our needs better, and for us to kind of look at what kind of burden it puts on the district in terms of, I know our administrative assistant, Linda, you did a lot of the collecting of the items and scheduling. And so, I'd like to know how that will differ with leadership on a modified level or a private consultant. So obviously we don't need the full thing. And 16,000 versus 10, maybe a combination, and maybe we can reach another better amount for our needs. So I agree with my my colleagues here.
Well, it's going to be 5-0, because I agree. But I want to say one thing. When I got on the school board, the biggest word that we used all the time in Millbury was transparency. You have to be transparent. And whatever the process is going to be, I want to be totally transparent to the community for everything that we do as far as hiring a superintendent. I know that the company that we used in the past has a really good feel for Millbury and knows what Millbury needs. So that's a good thing, you know. There's a couple of different options. I like to weigh them all out. But again, I'm going to go back to the word transparency. We have to be totally transparent.
All right, excellent. I would agree with a lot of those points. Definitely think it's worthwhile to have a full idea in January at the next board meeting to understand exactly what services would be provided by a modified agreement with leadership, who I think did a pretty good job last time, bringing us Lisa and really understanding a lot of the things that we were looking for as a district. They went through a pretty thorough process in identifying our needs. And I think we, as a board, were pretty clear about what our needs were, and I think they brought us a lot of candidates that met that. So, you know, want to know what they would be doing this time and compare that to the consultant, as everybody has mentioned, which I think it's fair to look at both, and from a transparency point of view, really understanding what those differences are so that we can then make a decision, hopefully at the January board meeting. I just sort of want to ask the question as to whether or not it makes sense from a timing perspective to do anything differently, whether or not we post earlier, later. I mean, I don't know from the public's point of view what the best timing is to post, and whether or not the January 20th timeline puts us in a good position or in a bad position, just in terms of where we are on the search process.
I think you're okay for January 20th. You know, these coming weeks, probably everyone is going to be taking some time to relax and have vacation. I would plan, thank you for your input and thoughts. My plan then on the 20th would be to bring you a written proposal of 2 of the options and have you kind of take a look at them. I would encourage you to make a decision on January 20th and not wait until a February meeting, because at that point, you know, getting it posted right away, right after the 20th, will be important.
Well, if we make a decision on the 20th to move forward, how long does it usually take to then put together job descriptions, post, and from a timing perspective, are we still good with most of the candidates?
I mean, I could check with leadership. I think it would be posted relatively quickly, especially if they already have created kind of the profile of a superintendent as well as a job description. So there would not be the need to do that or the community input, right? So they could post. I don't know exactly what the answer is on leadership in terms of, okay, we make a decision on the 20th and exactly when it would be posted. I think I would let them know that by the end of the month, we would like it posted. Because we wouldn't be changing the job description. If we decided to post it as a district and then use consultative services, then I could get it posted immediately after the 20th. I have a little bit more control over that because I would be able to actually do that posting myself.
Is there a job description that you already have that you would be posting? And is there,
So
do we
that-
need to, as a board, approve the job description?
Yeah, and I think that is maybe one of the disadvantages of perhaps us doing it ourselves, because leadership does create that job description because you hire them. They do not provide that to us. I did ask, right? Would you give that to us? That's not how it really works. But I did ask because I knew that the worst that what they could say is no. So yes, I think there's an ability to post the position maybe with a generalized job description and revise that if we went that route.
And I think when you do speak to either and the consultant and leadership, that would be a good question to ask is, what is the timeline? And I know in the past when you were brought on, Lisa, they came to us and gave us a timeline that we're going to do this, it's going to take 2 weeks to do this, 2 weeks to do that. And so I don't know whether that's included in this modified fund or program that they might be giving to us. So I think the timeline is going to be really important for the board to get our meetings together and when we're going to be meeting with them and know the timeline. So that might be a question to
I
ask.
will ask them. I'm not sure if they would include the timeline in the proposal, but I certainly can ask. I will certainly just share kind of the board's intentions and the timeline and ensure that they would be able to meet those timelines. But whether or not in their proposal they would actually give a timeline, I will ask.
Yeah, I think one thing that would be helpful too is also each of the different steps. So not just a timeline, but the steps and what our involvement would be versus what their involvement would be. And whether or not we need to approve a job description. I know we spent some time over the last process reviewing all of the feedback and the survey results. And then I remember discussing that job description and maybe making some alterations to it. I can't remember. I think we had some input on it prior to posting. And it may have changed a little bit. I mean, even though the search wasn't that long ago, we now have bond, and that's a little bit different than maybe what existed a couple of years ago. So, there probably might need to be a little bit of input from the board. So I would love to know what those steps are, who's responsible for what's our responsibility, what's their responsibility.
We do have a job description, don't we?
We do not actually have the job description because the last 2 times that you, unless I'm wrong, okay, the last 2 times that you've done a search, you have hired leadership associates. So they hold that job description.
But I thought all employees in the district would have to have the job description for reference, no?
So we did have a job description, but for this specific superintendent one, they currently hold it. So all the rest of the job descriptions, we hold.
Oh, but not that one.
Correct.
Interesting.
We call it priority.
Okay, thank you. I mean, if you have any other thoughts, you can let me know, but I
You're
think I
holding
have
it
good
all.
enough direction in terms of what to bring back to the board on January 20th.
Proprietary.
All right, excellent.
Proprietary.
So then next up is just possible future agenda items.
I will say that in January and February, it will start ramping up with bond stuff. So we already have a list of
Yeah.
certain things in January and February that we will be bringing to you. So
So, yeah, one thing comes to mind, the developer fees. The developer fees, how can we spend them? What are we allowed to spend them on? And maybe we would have suggestions from staff on how to use that money, that redevelopment money. Developers fees?
yeah, we're pretty restricted in developer fees, so I'm not sure about suggestions for staff. I will say that specifically, a couple of things we have been using developer fees for is TK quite a bit, because that is an increase, basically adding a grade level. And so the playground at Meadows and at Green Hills, as we have increased TK classrooms, all of the furniture and the modifications, for example, at Spring Valley, we had to add a sink for the additional TK classroom. You can chime in, Mary.
Yes, developer fees is very restricted. It's, you have to only use for expansion. It doesn't mean, even if like school district that doesn't have increased enrollment, you can still use it. For example, let's say for 3 elementary school that we have, we happen to have increased enrollment, so it's relatively easy. But due to the fact that we increased TK classroom, for example, let's say that school did not have appropriate playground for the TKers, then we can use the fund to add on the playground structure for age appropriate. Something that it didn't exist before, but due to expansion, that's when we can use the developer fees. And again, mean business department obligated to bring the report to you, and the auditor will look at every single item that we use on developer fees to make sure that we can only use those for certain purposes.
But I mean, if you would like a mini presentation with a few slides that kind of shows what we can use developer fees on, we certainly can put that together.
Yeah, is there a time limit on that? Does it have to be used at a certain?
5 years.
5
The
years.
revenue that we receive this year, you have 5 forward year to use it.
Use it or lose it?
Correct. And I don't think we have any trouble using the fees, so, yeah. That's why they mandated the 5 years report. And as I presented to you in the attachment, you can see the annual, that's mean how much we received last year, 24, 25. But I also obligated to show from 24, 25 plus 4 more years. So it had to have 5 years so that the community can see that, let's say, I don't memorize the chart, but this thing died, so I can't open it anymore. But let's say, right, we receive, for example, 855,000 for 24, 25, because I just presented, so I happen to remember that number. Let's say, then you have 5 more years. So moving forward, I have to report, make sure the expenditure in the next 5 years, it had to be greater than or equal to that 855,000. If I don't, then the state, it mandated that the extra fund had to be refunded. And again, nobody have done that before, so I hope I never have to cross that bridge, right? I've never find out how to do it yet, but I hope I never have to think about that, because I probably wanted to think about how I can improve services to the student, bring all those fees in. Again, the fee is designed because the expansion of their homes, that's mean the home, hopefully they expanded because they have more people live in the house. Hopefully that's mean translate to more children attending Millbrae Elementary School District, and therefore we need the fee to open more classroom to serve the children. And that's the main purpose.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, if that's it, then everybody wish everybody a very happy holidays, and I think we are done. So meeting adjourned.
Ooh.